For 7 years, Caleb Morrison had spent Christmas alone in the mountain cabin his grandfather had built. At 39, he was the CEO of Morrison Technologies, a man whose business decisions affected thousands of employees across 3 continents. But on Christmas Eve, he left all of that behind and drove 4 hours to this small cabin in the woods, where no one knew his name and his phone barely got reception. The cabin had been his grandfather's retreat, the place where the old man had taught Caleb about integrity and hard work, and the difference between success and fulfillment. After his grandfather died, Caleb had continued the tradition of spending Christmas here. Even as the rest of his family scattered and his personal life crumbled under the weight of his career. This year, like every year, Caleb sat by the fireplace on Christmas Eve, drinking scotch and watching snow fall past the windows. The cabin was warm and comfortable, stocked with food and firewood. He had books to read, music to listen to, and complete solitude. He was utterly, profoundly alone. His phone, propped on the mantel to catch the single bar of reception, had been silent all day. His parents were on a cruise somewhere in the Caribbean. His sister was with her in-laws. His few remaining friends had stopped inviting him to things after he'd canceled too many times due to work obligations. Even his assistant had only sent a brief text that morning. "Merry Christmas, Mr. Morrison." Caleb had built an empire, but he had no one to share it with. No wife, no children, no family traditions beyond this solitary retreat. He'd told himself for years that this was enough, that he preferred the quiet, that connection was overrated. But tonight, watching snow accumulate outside while golden firelight danced on the walls, he felt the lie of it. He was 40 next year, successful beyond measure, and so lonely it physically hurt. He was pouring his 3rd scotch when he heard it. A knock at the door. Caleb froze. In 7 years of Christmas stays, no one had ever knocked on this door. The cabin was a mile from the nearest neighbor, accessible only by a narrow forest road that most people avoided in winter. Who would be out here on Christmas Eve? The knock came again, more insistent this time. Caleb opened the door and found himself looking at a woman and a little girl, both dusted with snow. The woman had blonde hair tucked under a white knit hat and wore a cream-colored coat over a beige sweater. She looked tired and worried. The little girl, maybe 6 or 7, wore a burgundy coat with a fur-trimmed hood and clutched a wrapped present to her chest. "Please," the woman said, her voice shaking from cold or fear or both. "We need help. Our car slid off the road about half a mile back. We've been walking, looking for anyone who could help. I know it's Christmas Eve and I'm so sorry to bother you, but my phone's dead and my daughter's freezing and I didn't know what else to do." "Come in," Caleb said immediately, stepping aside. "Both of you, quickly." The woman and girl hurried inside, bringing a gust of cold air and snow with them. Caleb closed the door and gestured toward the fireplace. "Stand by the fire. Warm up. I'll get blankets." He grabbed 2 thick quilts from the bedroom and returned to find them standing exactly where he'd left them, as if afraid to move further into the space without permission. "Here," he said, wrapping the smaller quilt around the girl's shoulders. She was shivering, her nose red, her lips slightly blue. "What's your name?" "Sophie," she whispered. "Sophie, I'm Caleb, and you are—" He looked at the woman as he handed her the second quilt. "Emily. Emily Carter. Thank you so much. I can't believe we found you. There are no other houses with lights on, and I was starting to panic. You're lucky you found this place at all. The turnoff's easy to miss. Here, sit down." Caleb guided them to the sofa closest to the fire. "Let me make you something hot to drink. Coffee? Tea? Hot chocolate?" "Hot chocolate," Sophie said, her eyes lighting up despite her shivering. "Hot chocolate it is. And you, Emily?" "Tea would be wonderful. Thank you." Caleb went to the kitchen, his mind racing as he heated water and found cocoa mix. A woman and child stranded on Christmas Eve walking through a snowstorm. They could have frozen to death if they hadn't found the cabin. The thought made his chest tighten. He returned with steaming mugs, and the 3 of them sat in silence for a moment while Emily and Sophie warmed up. The girl sipped her hot chocolate carefully, leaving a whipped cream mustache that made her look younger than her years. "Tell me what happened," Caleb said gently. Emily explained that they'd been driving to her parents' house, a Christmas tradition. when the snow had gotten heavier than expected. She'd taken a turn too fast, trying to avoid what looked like a deer, and the car had slid into a ditch. No damage to them, but the car was stuck and her phone had died because she'd forgotten to charge it that morning. "We walked for what felt like forever," Emily said, pulling Sophie closer. "I was terrified we wouldn't find anyone." "Most of these cabins look empty this time of year." "Most of them are. I'm usually the only person up here for Christmas." "You spend Christmas alone?" Sophie asked, her eyes wide. "I do. It's peaceful, but it's Christmas. Aren't you sad being all by yourself?" Emily's face flushed. "Sophie, that's rude." "It's okay," Caleb said. "She's right, it is sad." "I've just gotten used to it." Sophie studied him with the brutal honesty only children possess. "You need family. Everyone needs family at Christmas. That's when you remember you're loved." The words hit Caleb harder than they should have. "Out of the mouths of babes," his grandmother would have said. "Well, tonight I have company," Caleb said, forcing a smile. "That's better than being alone. Are you hungry? I was about to make dinner when you knocked." "We don't want to impose," Emily started. "You're not. I have plenty of food and nowhere to be. Please let me feed you. It's Christmas Eve. No one should be hungry and cold on Christmas Eve." He made spaghetti, simple but filling, and they ate together at the small wooden table his grandfather had built. Sophie talked non-stop, her earlier shyness evaporating as she warmed up. She told him about her school, her best friend Madison, her guinea pig named Butterscotch. "We were bringing presents to Grandma and Grandpa," Sophie explained. "That's why I have this one." She gestured to the wrapped package she'd carried inside and set carefully on the floor. "I made it myself in art class. It's a picture frame with shells from when we went to the beach. Do you think it got broken when we crashed?" "I don't think so," Emily said. "You held it very carefully." "Good, because Grandma's going to love it. She loves everything I make, even when it's kind of messy." "That's what grandmas do," Caleb said. "My grandmother was the same way. I once made her a clay ashtray in school, and she'd never smoked a day in her life. But she kept it on her dresser for 20 years. After dinner, Sophie grew drowsy, her head drooping against her mother's shoulder. Emily looked exhausted, too. Dark circles under her eyes suggesting this had been a long day even before the accident. "You both need rest," Caleb said. "Take the bedroom. I'll sleep out here on the sofa." "We can't take your bed," Emily protested. "You can and you will. It's late, you've had a traumatic evening, and Sophie's already half asleep. I insist." Emily looked like she might argue further, but Sophie's eyes were closing, and she finally nodded. "Thank you for everything. I don't know what we would have done if we hadn't found you." "You did find me. That's what matters." He helped them get settled, providing toothbrushes still in packages and extra blankets. As Emily tucked Sophie into the large bed, he heard the girl say sleepily, "Mommy, is he going to be lonely out there by himself?" "He has the fire to keep him company, sweetheart. But fire isn't the same as people. Can we stay with him so he's not alone?" "Sophie, we need to sleep. Just for a little while." "Please?" Emily appeared in the doorway, looking apologetic. "I'm sorry. She's worried about you being lonely. Would you mind if we sat by the fire for a bit? I promise we won't keep you up long." "I'd like that," Caleb admitted. They returned to the living room, Sophie wrapped in a quilt, settling between Caleb and Emily on the large sofa facing the fireplace. Caleb added another log to the fire, and they sat in comfortable silence watching the flames dance. "Can I ask you something?" Emily said quietly, clearly thinking Sophie was asleep. "Of course." "Why do you spend Christmas alone, if you don't mind me asking? You seem like someone who'd have family, friends, people wanting to spend time with you." Caleb considered how to answer. "I built a successful company. It took everything I had, 80-hour weeks, constant travel, missing birthdays and holidays, and every important moment in my friends' lives. By the time I looked up, everyone had moved on. My girlfriend had left, my friends had stopped calling, my family had learned not to expect me. I chose work over connection for so long that now I don't have connection to choose." "That's the saddest thing I've ever heard," Emily whispered. "It's my own fault. I made those choices. I just didn't realize at the time what they'd cost. Is that why you come here? To be alone with your regrets?" "Partly, but also because this cabin reminds me of my grandfather. He built it with his own hands. He taught me that success without purpose is just noise. I think I forgot that lesson somewhere along the way. Coming here is my way of remembering. Emily was quiet for a moment. My husband died 3 years ago. Car accident, sudden and senseless. Sophie was 4. For the first 2 years, I was just surviving. Getting through each day, making sure Sophie was okay, trying to hold together a life that felt like it had shattered. This is the first Christmas I've felt ready to have traditions again. Ready to make new memories instead of just grieving old ones. I'm sorry about your husband. Thank you. He was a good man. A teacher, patient and kind. Sophie's so much like him. She sees the best in people, even when they can't see it in themselves. She asked if I was okay within 5 minutes of meeting me. That's a special gift. She has a good heart. Sometimes I worry it'll get broken by a world that doesn't value kindness enough. But then I remember that Ryan wouldn't want me to make her hard. He'd want her to stay soft, stay open, stay loving, even if it means she gets hurt sometimes. They talked for over an hour while Sophie slept between them. Emily told him about her work as a physical therapist, about helping people recover from injuries and surgeries, about the satisfaction of watching someone take their first steps after months of work. Caleb told her about his company, but also about his doubts, his loneliness, his growing realization that he'd built the wrong life. It's not too late, Emily said gently. You're what, late 30s? 39. 40 next month. That's young. You have time to build different things. Connection, community, relationships. They take work too, but different work. The kind that fills you up instead of emptying you out. I don't know if I remember how. Then learn. It's not too late, Caleb. I promise you it's not too late. Sophie stirred, opening her eyes. Are you still sad? She asked Caleb. A little less than I was, he admitted. Good. Mommy says sometimes people just need to know they're not alone. That's why we talk to each other and share stuff. So nobody has to be alone with their sad feelings. Your mom is very smart, I know. She's the best mom in the whole world. Emily's eyes filled with tears, and Caleb understood that Sophie's sweetness, her openness, her insistence that he not be alone was a gift Emily had given her. Despite loss and hardship, Emily had raised a child who believed in kindness, who saw loneliness and wanted to fix it, who understood at 6 years old that connection mattered most. They eventually returned to bed, but Caleb lay awake on the sofa, staring at the dying fire and thinking about the evening. These strangers had crashed into his solitary Christmas and shown him what he'd been missing. Not just company, but the warmth of caring about someone, of being seen by someone, of mattering to people beyond his business utility. Christmas morning arrived bright and clear, sun sparkling on fresh snow. Caleb made pancakes while Emily called her parents from his phone. Her father was already on his way with a tow truck to retrieve their car. He'll be here in about an hour, Emily reported. I'm so sorry we disrupted your Christmas. You didn't disrupt it. You saved it. I've spent 7 Christmases alone in this cabin, and this is the first one that didn't feel empty. Sophie tugged on his sleeve. We have presents in the car, but I want to give you something. She ran to the bedroom and returned with the wrapped frame she'd been carrying. I made this for Grandma, but she'd want you to have it. Because you need to remember that you're not alone anymore. Sophie, I can't take your grandmother's present, Caleb protested. Grandma gets presents all the time. You don't get any. Please take it. Emily nodded, wiping her eyes. Take it. We'll make another one for my mom. Caleb unwrapped the package carefully. Inside was a simple frame decorated with shells and beach glass, surrounding a child's drawing. The drawing showed a house with smoke coming from the chimney, stick figures holding hands in front of it, and the words "Family is love" written in careful letters. Sophie made the frame in art class, Emily explained. But she drew the picture at home. That's supposed to be our family, me, Sophie, and Ryan, but now it can be your family, too. Because everyone needs family. Caleb couldn't speak. He pulled Sophie into a hug, this remarkable child who'd walked through a snowstorm and decided a lonely stranger needed love more than her grandmother needed another present. Emily's father arrived, and the car was towed from the ditch. Before they left, Emily hugged Caleb tight. Thank you for saving us last night, for giving us shelter and food and kindness when we needed it most. Thank you for saving me, for showing me what I've been missing, for reminding me it's not too late. They exchanged phone numbers. Emily made Caleb promise to call, to not disappear back into his lonely life. Sophie made him promise to find family, to not spend next Christmas alone. After they left, Caleb sat in the silent cabin, holding Sophie's frame. He looked at the drawing of stick figures holding hands, at the careful letters spelling out "family is love," and made a decision. He called his sister. "Lauren, I'm sorry I've been absent. I'm sorry I chose work over you, over everyone. I want to change that. Can we talk?" He called his old college roommate. "Tom, I know it's been years. I know I've been a terrible friend. But I want to do better. Can we get coffee?" He called his assistant. "Margaret, after the holidays, I want to restructure my schedule. I need more time for life, not just work. Help me figure out how." Over the next year, Caleb rebuilt his life around connection instead of achievement. He hired a president to handle daily operations. He started having dinner with his sister's family every Sunday. He reconnected with old friends. He volunteered at a youth center, teaching business skills to kids from underprivileged backgrounds, and he stayed in touch with Emily and Sophie. They became close friends, then something more. Emily taught him how to be present, how to value people over productivity. Sophie taught him how to play, how to laugh, how to see magic in ordinary moments. 2 years after that snowy Christmas Eve, Caleb proposed to Emily at the cabin. Sophie stood beside him, holding the ring box, barely able to contain her excitement. "I've spent too many Christmases alone," Caleb told Emily as snow fell outside the window. "I don't want to spend another one without you and Sophie. You knocked on my door when I'd given up on connection. You showed me it wasn't too late to build a different life. Will you marry me? Will you let me be part of your family?" Emily said yes through happy tears, and Sophie cheered. I told you that you needed family. And now you're going to be my dad." At their wedding the following year, Caleb hung Sophie's frame in a place of honor. The drawing of stick figures holding hands, the careful letters, "Family is love." In his speech, he told the story of the Christmas knock, about being alone and lonely, about strangers seeking shelter, about a little girl who decided he needed her grandmother's present more than her grandmother did. "I thought I was giving them shelter from a storm," Caleb said. "But Emily and Sophie were giving me shelter from loneliness. They walked through snow to knock on my door, and in doing so, they saved my life. Not from physical danger, but from the slow death of isolation. They reminded me that success means nothing without connection. That wealth is meaningless without love. That family isn't just blood, it's the people who see you're alone and refuse to let you stay that way." Years later, Caleb would still spend Christmas at the cabin, but never alone. Emily would be there, and Sophie, and eventually Sophie's siblings. The cabin would ring with laughter and arguments and love. And on the mantel, in the place of honor, would sit a child's frame decorated with shells, reminding them all that family is love, and love is what saves us. The Christmas knock changed everything. 2 strangers seeking shelter found home. 1 lonely man waiting to die inside found reason to live. And a little girl's gift became the foundation of a family built not on blood or obligation, but on the simple truth that no one should be alone, especially at Christmas. If this story reminded you that it's never too late to choose connection over isolation, please like, share, and subscribe. Comment about a time a stranger's kindness changed your perspective. We're all one knock away from saving or being saved. The question is whether we'll open the door.